What does the United States economy depend on? The U.S. economy depends on military spending because military spending has been a significant part of the economy since the Second World War. This can change, however. We have not had leadership that is willing to make the hard choices required of it for a very long time. A very obvious example of this is the fact that military bases remain open that the military itself has been wanting to close for decades. Since closure of the bases would negatively impact the areas surrounding the bases, Congress continually allocates the funds to keep the bases open year after year. The same has happened with continued production of equipment the military itself says it does not need. This kind of waste is all too common in the federal, state and local governments, and we the taxpayer flip the bill for their lack of leadership. This is nothing new. Also worthy of note is that this is not unique to the U.S. Many other countries economically benefit from the presence of U.S. bases and U.S. service personnel stationed or visiting there. The U.S. subsidizes a great deal of the rest of the world. The U.S. economy depends on the rule of law, political stability and vibrant trading partners. Since World War II, the U.S. has taken on the burden of global leadership to achieve those goals. Two areas that tax the U.S. economy the most in achieving that goal are military spending and a trade disadvantage associated with a distorted high exchange value for its currency as a result of being the dominant global reserve currency. The money spent on military activities is enormous and does create an economy of its own, but its effect on the overall economy is a net drain of U.S. resources that could otherwise be leveraged into greater economic growth, i.e. infrastructure, research, business startup assistance. An argument in defense of this burden is that U.S. quality of life increases as a result of these activities by more than spending in other ways. In other words, these expenditures increase the U.S. and world economies, but at the expense of U.S. competitiveness. Questioning the wisdom of that argument is one of the things driving Pres. Trump's popularity. Yes, it does. Not on its own wars, but on other countries. It is not fundamental, but it is a big part of it. Guns, vehicles and other war items and tools are a huge industry for the USA. I think this is just my raw opinion on the subject, that the only reason why guns are not banned it is only due to the dimension of the business in the country. If you can recall back at your history lessons, United States only became what it became because of the two world wars. Especially the first one where they profited from selling war items and then selling reconstruction aid to Europe. Its military machine is way out the front. It uses it to colonialize lesser nations and take their goods and make them indebted to it through such local branches as the World Bank, the IMF, etc. It maintains its empire, which unlike past empires, is a financial imperative. It has the world petrodollars and reserve currency. None of this would be available without its military might. Not too unlike ancient Rome. The military is in every nook and cranny in every state of the Union. This keeps local economies solvent. And so on. The U.S. GDP is $18.7 trillion and the U.S. military budget is $597 billion, 2% of GDP. If military spending was cut to $0, the U.S. economy would be dragged down while the human and industrial resources realigned with the rest of the economy, but it would remain strong throughout. One of the reasons that military spending remains high is in part to keep supporting industries afloat and human resources available to achieve a certain maintenance level of readiness. If we only built missiles as we use them and didn't invest any in missile development, then it could take time for industries to retool and come up to speed to create new military supplies in case there was a need.